Good morning. Today is the day of my flight back to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur, and I'm all packed up and ready to go. My flight could end up being fine, I don't know, but it's not a typical flight for me because it has a layover. AirAsia is one of the better ways to get in and out of Malaysia, and they have a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok, and then they have a lot of flights from Bangkok into Myanmar, but there's no direct flight between Mandalay and Kuala Lumpur, so I have to go Mandalay to Bangkok, and then I have a 2-hour layover in Bangkok, and then I catch a flight from Bangkok to Kuala Lumpur. And I'm arriving in Kuala Lumpur a little bit late. No, not so super late, 8:10 at night. Maybe an hour to get out of the airport, another hour to get down to, downtown Kuala Lumpur. So I'll be arriving at my guest house there, 10 or 11 o'clock, something like that. So it's a bit of a long transportation day, even though I'm going a fairly short distance. Heading down to the lobby. Another thing a hotel like this has is an elevator, which is really nice. And my room, by the way, was $11 US per night, which is actually really good value. The room had its own private bathroom with hot water, a kettle, instant coffee, they give you water, a mini bar, very comfortable room. So $11, that's a great deal. And this is the lobby area for this hotel, the Hotel Boss. Living a luxurious life here in Mandalay. Because my driver is here, but they have to check my room to make sure everything is okay as I check out. And because there's the mini bar, they have to see whether, what I've had out of the mini bar, then I'd have to pay for that. Oh, I have it. That's okay. Oh, I take it. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you. Here we are. Yeah, look at this fancy car. I wasn't sure when I booked the car whether it would be some kind of a shuttle bus with lots of people or a private car like this. I just didn't know. I often ask questions to try and figure this stuff out in advance, but as I said the other day, I generally never understand the answers I get, and at the same time, you just never know what's going to happen. You kind of have to be quite flexible and just relax and see how things turn out. There goes my taxi. I'm now at the Mandalay International Airport. Yeah, getting here was pretty painless. I guess if you're going to take a private taxi, of course, it's going to be pretty painless. It's about 40 kilometers outside of the city. Took about an hour to get here, and had plenty of time to catch my flight, so I'm gonna head in. There's the departure area. So I have to get my my bags ready to go through security. Actually, my bags are fine. I just have to take all the metal out of my pockets and pack them away. So let's go do that now. So I made it through all the formalities, no problem. And I'm sitting here in a largely empty but very nice international airport in Mandalay. I always like going through immigration and check-in and through customs and security and getting everything right. It's like being a student again, where you pass the test each time. because they kind of expect you to fail, right? Everyone who goes up there, they've done something wrong. You know, they're going through the X-ray machine, but they've left their, you know, cell phone in their pocket, or they've left a metal belt buckle on. And you know, I take great pride in making sure I've got nothing metal on me anywhere, and putting everything away and having everything just right for them. You know, same thing with check-in. You have your passport, and I mean, it's nothing funnier than when you see people go up to the check-in counter, and then they're surprised that they ask to see their passport, and then they're fumbling through their bags, you know, trying to find their passport. And I can only imagine the clerks heaving this giant sigh. You know, it's like, ah. But I like to sail through and do everything right, and I feel like I've pleased them, sort of like pleasing your teacher, you know, when you get everything right. The only thing I was even slightly worried about was the length of time that I've been in Myanmar. There's an odd little twist there that your visa is good for 28 days. I mean, that's written down everywhere. Everyone knows you get 28 days when you get your visa for Myanmar. But when you go through immigration upon arrival, they put a stamp in your passport, and then they write down the date on which by which you have to leave the country. But if you count the days, it's actually 29 days from the day you arrive until the day you're expected to leave. So they kind of give you an extra day for some reason, and I don't know why that is. I've been here on a previous visa, and in that case I booked my flight for the 28th day, because they told me so many times it's only 28 days, even though technically they wrote down one more day. So I probably could have stayed for an extra day, but I didn't really know what was going on there. So just to be safe, I booked a flight on the 28th day, regardless of what the stamp said. In this case, I wanted that extra day, so I booked my flight for the day they wrote down as my last day, even though that was day 29. And when I went up to passport control, you know, immigration, they seemed to be looking at my passport pretty carefully, but I always have that feeling, you know, like I'm getting extra scrutiny for some reason. I always feel like some kind of international criminal whenever I go through airports. But in the end, no, it's just stamp, 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 away you go. And so you actually get 29 days, technically, you know, based on what they write down in your passport as your final day. And you hear a lot that it's not a big deal to overstay your visa here. You can overstay by, you know, a fair number of days, and then you just pay a fine at the airport. In Yangon, I saw the counter. There's actually a little office with a counter, and it's labeled, you know, overstay fine. You just go there, they count the number of days, and you pay $3 per day for your overstay. And I never did that because you're not supposed to overstay your visa, and I like to obey the rules if I can. Plus, if you're staying in hotels, they check your visa, and they make a photocopy of your information page and your visa page, and they look at the date. And I think a lot of the hotels will not allow you to stay there if they see that your visa is expired. So it's something to think about if you're overstaying. I didn't want that stress and that worry, you know, in the back of my mind. So I did not overstay, and I made sure to get out of here on the 29th day. Here's the departure area, your usual duty-free sections. Get all your fancy goods. They have some camera gear in there, some Canon cameras. And of course, the usual perfumes and liquor, cigarettes. And there's almost nobody here. I ended up with 10,000 chats left over. I still have in my wallet. Not sure if I can change it to dollars or not. I don't think I can. So I think I'll be getting a cup of coffee or something to eat somewhere. So there I am in the bathroom mirror. Just doing this for a little technical note to show this little hand grip I have for the GoPro. Since I was going through the airport, I didn't bother with the lavalier microphone because I didn't want to have like a cord and batteries and all that kind of stuff as I'm going through security. So I'm just using the microphone that's built into the GoPro. Time to go have a cup of coffee. Just relaxing at the airport. I didn't go for my cup of coffee yet because it turns out they have a GG convenience store. I think the G&G stands for grab and go. It's kind of a nifty little shop. I'm not sure I've seen too many like that in departure lounges. They even have coolers full of beer and a seating area there, and people are just going in and buying a can of beer and sitting down and drinking it. It's pretty laid back and casual for an airport. So I decided to take my 10,000 chats and stock up on some supplies, you know, instead of blowing it on a cappuccino or something like that. You know, like a cappuccino is going to cost like 6,000 chats here in the airport, and for that much money in that G&G, I can get all kinds of things. I got batteries, toothpaste, some peanuts, Mentos, which I love. Yeah, all kinds of things. I just stocked up on all kinds of goodies from the G&G store. Still have a little bit of a chat left. I might even have enough for like a regular cup of coffee. So I might go do that now. It turns out I cut it a little bit too close, and I almost have enough chat left for a cup of coffee, but not quite. So I guess before I board my flight to Bangkok and on to Kuala Lumpur, I'll go back to the G&G and see what I can get for my remaining cash. Pick up some more goodies that I'll need later on, or maybe some more snacks. While I was sitting over there in my departure lounge, a young man came up. He saw me holding this GoPro, talking at it, and he came up and sat down next to me, and he said he'd seen some of my videos from in Myanmar and other places, and he recognized me from the YouTube videos. So that was kind of nice. He came over and chatted for a while. He's a real traveler from Myanmar. He likes to go anywhere he can, and he's been to Thailand many times. But on this trip, he's going back to Thailand and heading up to Chiang Mai for the first time. And he said it was actually quite easy for him to visit all these countries in Southeast Asia. He gets visa-free entry for a lot of these countries. Not long time. I think he said he gets 2 weeks for Thailand, places like that. And yeah, he likes to go exploring in Southeast Asia. And he looks for travel videos on YouTube, and he saw mine, and he came up to say hi. So that was really interesting. Boarding the jet now, and I'm looking for seat 11B. Seat 11B. There's actually more leg room than I'm used to, which is kind of odd. I don't know what's going on. Not a huge amount, but there's actually a bit of air between me and the seat in front, which is pretty weird. It actually feels like a different style of jet. It has this a different kind of seat that I'm used to seeing. I've never seen this kind of plastic slot before at the top. And there's Myanmar out there.
การสูบบุหรี่บนเครื่องบินถือเป็นความผิดที่ร้ายแรงขัดต่อกฎหมายและข้อบังคับของพระราชบัญญัติการเดินอากาศซึ่งจะมีโทษ
Ladies and gentlemen, may we remind you that this is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is forbidden anywhere on the aircraft, including the toilets and in the aisles.
So we're on the flight. Just thought I'd make a quick trip into the bathroom before we leave. I'm not sure how long the flight is. Hour and a half maybe to Bangkok, 2 hours? I have no idea. I forgot to look it up. Anyway, back to my seat, which as I said is actually a more comfortable seat than I'm used to. It's like I got more leg room, it's wider. I don't know what the deal is, but I got a nicer seat on this flight than I usually get. All right, back to my seat. I'm sorry. So we're inside the airport here. Now I just have to find the transfer area. Seemed to be a bit more security around that flight than most flights I've seen. Coming off it there are a number of passengers being stopped by men in uniforms, checking their documents. Now I'm a bit pleased that I decided not to spend a couple of nights or one night here in Bangkok, and instead booked a onward flight to Kuala Lumpur today. That means I don't have to go through that very long immigration line back there, and I don't have to change money, and I don't have to deal with this airport. I think of all the airports I've been to in this part of the world, this one is my least favorite by a very wide margin. I don't know how to even say the name. Dawn something, DMK, it's that airport. There are 2 airports in Bangkok, one quite nice one I guess, and then there's this one which all the budget airlines go to apparently, and it's just not a very pleasant one to fly into or out of. So getting close, here's the transfer. And that's where I'm heading to, where I've come from. That's it. Okay, thank you. Now that was relatively simple, but now I have to go through a security point. So I got to take all the metal off again. I thought I was done with that. Well, that's the security checkpoint over there. And the security here was no joke. They're pretty serious about everything. When I was spending all of my extra cash at the airport in Mandalay, I thought I was being very smart by buying a bottle of water, inside the departure lounge, thinking I could have water to drink here in the airport when I get to Bangkok. And when I put my bag through security, they flagged me, pulled me aside and said, "Do you have water in here?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And they said, "No, you can't have any water, you have to throw it away." That was very strange, I thought. My understanding is if you buy the water inside the airport, I bought it inside the airport in Mandalay, and I was able to take it onto the plane, no problem. But I guess if you're going through an international transfer, you're also not allowed to bring any water with you. Who knows why? I was very proud of myself that I did not. My impulse was to argue with him, you know, because I made such a point about buying this water, and I patted myself on the back for thinking ahead and how I'll have a bottle of water when I get to Bangkok. And as soon as I make the effort of carrying the water all the way here, and then the first thing that happens is the guy says, oh, you can't bring any water in, you have to throw it away. And my impulse was to argue with him. It's like, oh, come on, why can't? But obviously, I mean, what's the point of arguing with anyone in an airport? I just instantly took the water out, tossed it away, and moved on. So here I am in my least favorite airport in the world. And I think I'm here for about 2 hours. There's the departure board. And I think this is mine here. Leaving at 5:05, AirAsia 315. Gate number 3. So let's go find gate number 3. I always find this airport a very tense one. There are like unbelievable numbers of tour groups from China going through here. And when these large tour groups get in the airport, there's total chaos. I was stuck here on a recent trip. I'd arrived several hours early, and I couldn't check into my flight. Usually I can just check in and go to my gate and kind of hang out in the airport, but I wasn't allowed to do that. So I was sort of stuck out there where people were boarding, and there are these huge groups of tour groups with a vast amounts of luggage, a lot of screaming and yelling and pushing and things getting in the way. And as you can see, this place is very crowded. The duty-free is very, very popular because we're all stocking up on stuff to bring back to China. And there's just a general stress and high levels of energy that come with these tour groups. It's another reason I don't like this airport very much. And this is where I was on my last trip through here. My departure gate was down here in this gates 1 to 6 ghetto down in the basement. Last time I was here, yeah, it was so crowded down in this area. Not a pleasant place to be. And here it is, my prison for the next hour and a half or so. One good thing is that they have water fountains down here, so you can get as much drinking water as you'd like. So I kind of forgot about that. So I don't know why I even bothered buying a bottle of water at all. Getting closer to the departure time for my flight. Not a moment too soon. I tried sitting down in all these different areas when a seat became available, but then this tour group would roll in and I'd be surrounded by people. So much noise and so much eating and drinking and chaos. I kept getting hit in the head with bags and with food containers, and I just couldn't stick around any longer, so I had to get up and walk around, find a new seat. Then I got driven out of that seat. And that's where my flight is leaving from, gate number 3. boarding the bus to take me to the plane. One more stage, almost down.
ท่านผู้มีเกียรติครับขณะนี้เครื่องบินอยู่ในระหว่างการเติมน้ำมันครับเพื่อความปลอดภัยกรุณานั่งประจำที่ปลดสายรัดเข็มขัดที่นั่งปิดโทรศัพท์มือถือรวมทั้งอุปกรณ์อิเล็กทรอนิกส์ทุกชนิดและงดสูบบุหรี่ครับขอขอบพระคุณในความร่วมมือครับ
Ladies and gentlemen,
Well, we're back to normal AirAsia seating on these local flights. You can see there's absolutely no room at all, and these are jammed in there, and that's with me sitting straight up and down. So no slouching on this flight. I'm not sure how long the flight is. 2 hours, maybe? Something like that. Not sure. To find out. Well, I made it back to Kuala Lumpur International Airport. It's always weird to get off a plane and look down into the area. And these are all the people who are waiting to get on the plane that I just got off. I always end up feeling a little bit sorry for them just because my journey is over and I'm exhausted and I'm glad I'm here. And all those people are just beginning their journey, you know, at 8:30 at night. And who knows how long they're going to be traveling and how tired they're going to be when they finally arrive. It will be interesting to see how many people are waiting to get through immigration. Because I've had odd experiences at this airport. Most of the time it's been empty and I just sail through without any real waiting time. But then once or twice, out of the blue, I'll walk into the immigration hall and it'll just be jammed with hundreds and hundreds of people with an hour and a half wait to get through immigration. And I don't know what the difference was between that and you know, the slow periods and the really busy periods. I'm hoping today is a nice slow period, very empty, nobody here. Looks like it's a little bit of a busy time. Yeah, it's pretty busy. Well, we've got a bit of drama going on here at the airport in Kuala Lumpur. Took a long time to get through immigration. There were so many people. I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half, perhaps. And now that I've reached a baggage claim, my bag is gone. Can't find it anywhere. That's the one. Yeah, I guess it just got moved because it took so long.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Found it. Yeah, it went missing.
Maybe a long time ago,
Yeah, it took a long time to get through immigration. A lot of people.
Yep.
So I guess they took it
Every
off.
day.
Yeah, every day?
Every day. Almost every day. Maybe you can use it.
Yeah, maybe I'll take one. Well, that was a happy ending. I guess it took us so long to get through immigration that they took the last bags off of the carousel. This one here, carousel number 8, and they brought it over to the office. I guess for safekeeping, who knows? I was a little bit worried about that because the carousel wasn't completely empty. Right, there's this one suitcase still sitting here. And I guess it's being removed now. But I thought if that one suitcase was still sitting there, then they didn't move the bags, so maybe someone took mine, you know? And I was pretty casual about packing this bag. I mean, it had a lot of valuable things in there. Things that I probably shouldn't put in a checked bag, you know? I should take it in my carry-on because it's that important to me. But yeah, just being very casual. I've never had a bag go missing. I've never had problems. So yeah, I get very casual about these things these days, probably too casual. This is where I usually go to buy my bus ticket, but perhaps it's closed because it's late at night. Yeah, there's nobody here. And here we are in the shopping mall attached to the Kuala Lumpur airport. Whew. I was quite relieved to get that bag back, I have to say. I was starting to think it had been stolen or something like that. And I started to think about how easy it might be for someone to just grab a bag, you know, any bag that doesn't belong to them and just walk out of the airport. I mean, really, what would stop them from doing that? Yeah, the whole airport had a different feeling to it this time, even going through immigration. In the line that I chose, I was looking ahead to the officer who was handling all of the arrivals in my line, and I noticed that this guy was asking a lot of questions. At all the other counters, the arrivals were just sailing through. You know, here's my passport, stamp, take your picture, take your fingerprints, and then they just sail through really fast. But my particular lineup, I noticed that he was asking questions of a lot of people, 3 or 4 questions. And so I guess I had bad luck in my choice of lineup as well. So when I got to the front, he asked me a lot of questions about where I'd been, where I was going, what I was going to do in Malaysia, and also where I was working, how long I'd worked there. A lot of questions, and it looked like I wasn't even going to make it through. I thought he was going to send me on to a supervisor or something, you know, for more interviews or something. But in the end, he relented and he stamped me in. So I got the usual 90 days for Malaysia that you can get when you arrive here. You don't have to apply for a visa in advance, at least if you're from Canada. You can just get a stamp at the airport and it's valid for 90 days in the country. And that's what he gave me. So I was pretty happy about that. Heading down the moving, or the travelator they call it. And well, it looks like that's my going to be one of, maybe that's my bus out there. I have to buy a ticket first at one of the counters over here. I think it should be about 12 ringgit, maybe $4 US. I've lost track of the currency here. I can't remember what it's worth. No, I think this is my bus here. This is like a airport bus. There's my bus behind me, one of these buses anyway. Got my ticket for 12 ringgit. My journey is slowly coming to a close. Technically it's a short journey from Mandalay to here, but it's starting to feel like a long one. So I'm glad it's coming to an end. Get on the bus. Ooh. I just missed my bus. If I hadn't stopped to record that little moment, I would have made it onto that bus just as it was leaving. Now we have to wait for this one to fill up. Thank you. It's very dark again, so probably can't see much of me on the camera. But since the bus is just arrived and it's empty, I thought I'd snag a seat at the very front. Why not? Slowly but surely, the journey is coming to an end. I'm now at the LRT station in Chinatown here in Kuala Lumpur, and I booked a room at a guest house just 2 or 3 blocks into Chinatown called the Grocer's Inn, and I'm going to stay there for a couple of nights. Because my flight was delayed by about half an hour, and the line at immigration was so long, and then the delay getting my bag, it's actually pretty late now that I'm here. It's 11:30 at night, and that's quite a bit later than I thought I would be here. Hopefully the people at Grocer's Inn have kept my room for me. But if not, it's no big deal. There are a lot of hostels and hotels in Chinatown. Be easy enough to find a place to stay. The hotels in Myanmar, it's one thing I'm going to miss a great deal about being back here in Malaysia and in Kuala Lumpur. The hotels in Myanmar were all so nice and really good value. I'm not quite sure what my room is costing here at the Grocer's Inn, but this is like a very tiny single room, fan only, no air conditioning, with a shared bathroom, and I think it's going to cost the same per night as my big double room in Mandalay, you know, with a private bathroom, with air conditioning, mini bar, and all that kind of thing. So the hotels in Myanmar were much better value than anything here. To get that kind of a room, you'd have to pay 4 or 5 times as much, I think. Plus, they have that ridiculous tourism tax here. I think they implemented it in late 2017 or something like that. And now every foreigner has to pay a tax of 10 ringgit per night to the hotel. So, you know, I think if you are a tourist staying in a really expensive 4-star hotel, 10 extra ringgit doesn't matter that much to you. But I mean, if you're paying 25 ringgit a night for, you know, a little room, another 10 ringgit on top of that, you know, kind of adds a hefty tax to your room. Makes it a lot more expensive here. For budget travelers anyway. So this street here is my new home away from home for 2 or 3 nights. And here's the place up ahead on the left. There's a small black sign up there. It says Grocers Inn. Welcome backpackers and budget travelers. That's me. And they have a cafe or restaurant here at the front that's usually open, and that's how you would go in. But when it's closed, I think they have a door off on the side. I've never actually stayed here before, so I'm not entirely sure how you get in. Just walk through a kind of a disgusting puddle back there I didn't realize was there. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Well, how are you? Well, I'm all checked into my room. Had to pay the 10 ringgit per night tourist tax, which bugs me every time I have to pay that. And yeah, I'll show you my room in a little bit. It turns out it actually has air conditioning, which I either forgot about or I just didn't realize that it had air conditioning. So that makes it a little bit of a better deal. We'll see if it actually works in that room. Yeah. Man, this whole business, you know, of going from country to country so quickly really is delivers a shock to your system. You know, the sudden change in atmosphere, the change in everything. Malaysia is so different from Myanmar, and then you get here so quickly, it's really hard to make the adjustment. But here is the view from the balcony outside my room. And there's a sign for the Grocers Inn. There's a little 24-hour supermarket down there. I'm going to pop over there in a minute and get some water. Oh, let's go check out my room. Oh, there's the hallway. As I said, this place is called the Grocers Inn, and it's in a rather historic building. I used to know some of the history, but I've forgotten about it now. I'll learn a bit more in the next few days. So this is a tiny little room. Got a single bed here, fan up on the wall, and an air conditioner, and I can feel it. It's actually making it nice and cool in here already. Could be quite a noisy room because this door opens right out onto the balcony here. And you often get people sitting out on the balcony, you know, having a beer at night and talking, and you get all the traffic noise as well. And you have a little desk here and a chair, and that's pretty much everything for the furnishings. So a major step down from my luxury rooms in Myanmar, that is for sure. Well, I'm going to unpack, go get some water to drink, and that is the end of my trip from Mandalay to Kuala Lumpur, and I'll see you in the next video. There's a nice angle on the building with the grocers inside. And my room is right on the corner here, right on the lower balcony. As you can see, it's quite an older building, really quite a beautiful one. And the restaurant down below is quite nice too. It's a very busy street here in Chinatown. Everything's shutting down now though, it's midnight. There's still a few of the street side restaurants open.